get into Wisconsin. I head toward the Minneapolis area Monday. So yesterday's videos, I went into the first few years of the religion that I was involved in, and I was witnessing some of the hooks that they used to draw me in, as well as some of the experiences I had the first few years being involved with that back in the late 80s. And I touched on, and I'm going to try to expand a little more, how can we resist such hooks? Because hooks like that aren't just from religion. It can be an abusive relationship that you get into. The person's obviously in the beginning is not going to display, or religion or whatever entity is trying to hook you, he's not going to reveal what they're really like in the beginning to you, because if they did, you wouldn't keep associating with whatever it is. So how do we resist such hooks that are thrown out toward us? If somebody wants to draw us into an abusive relationship, obviously they're going to put out hooks. They have to draw us to them long enough to where we do become hooked. I know of a story recently. Somebody that I know on Facebook, a woman had a husband, and he wasn't really the greatest husband to her to begin with, this person, and he kept cheating on her and doing whatever in the relationship, but he had her totally hooked. But finally, one time was too many, and she, I guess, threatened to divorce him. It was a threat. Whether she really would have done it is hard to say. And the guy ended up blowing his brains out. Literally killed himself with a gun. Left 5-year-old daughter that they had together. And what a horrible situation that was. Yet, the question that I ask myself is, what drew her to that kind of guy to begin with? Why did she get into a relationship with that guy to begin with? What happened? What drew her into that relationship to begin with? With a guy that was capable of doing such a horrible thing, actually carrying out something like that and treating her the way he treated her, and yet she thought he was the greatest thing on the face of this earth. Even after a lot of this happened, she still would come out with comments about how wonderful he was, and even after he blew his brains out. Well, that wasn't the end of the story, because then she eventually got into another relationship, and I was following the situation on Facebook. She was posting a lot of stuff about it, how things were playing out, and I knew from the get-go that this guy was love bombing her like crazy. Some of the stuff he was doing, I knew. He was love bombing in capital letters. I knew this guy wasn't legit. remember. I know it's a town on US 20. Oh, Bellevue, Ohio. This is town of Bellevue. Getting back to what I was talking about a minute ago here, about this situation where this woman and her husband literally blew his brains out after, I think it was 5 years of marriage. She got involved with this next guy about not even a year after this all happened, less than a year. I think it was like, about a year. This guy was just love bombing her like crazy, and I knew he was not legit. Those things he was doing. I mean, after 2 months, just 2 months of being in a relationship, he asked her to marry him, and they went off and got married immediately. And I knew deep down that it's not going to be a good ending, just from the way it was playing out, how fast he was moving with things, and getting her to fall totally in love with him. All the so-called wonderful things. I mean, he was moved in with her already in her house. She had bought a house. He was already living there with her after just barely even a month. I don't even think it was. And they got married, and then he got her pregnant. This all happened, they just 3 months. Met her, married her, got her pregnant, and then left her within 4 months. He left her. That was it. For somebody else. So here she was, pregnant with his child. He's dumped her for another woman. In just 4 months. All of that happened in just 4 months. Now he's still mingling with her. Even now, he's not living there with her anymore. He's still mingling with her. She's still allowing him to mingle with her. I know they have a child together and everything, but apparently now he's using that situation to continue to hook her without even a commitment anymore. Probably involved with several different women, who knows. He still has her hooked, though, apparently. And that's what I'm saying. Once you get hooked, it's very difficult, because the person or the entity or whatever it is that's hooked to you, when they sense they got you pissed off, then all of a sudden they're going to put on their nice mask to you and make you believe, well, this really isn't so bad after all. So I felt really bad, but then the main thing I asked, again, and it ties in with what I've been talking about here, what was it that hooked her? Why did she fall for that tactic? What made her vulnerable? Well, it made her vulnerable because, again, her recent suicide, that was just a horrendous thing to have to go through. She wasn't fully healed from that whole thing yet. And this guy knew it and moved in on her and took advantage of her vulnerabilities to hook her. And so that's how these people operate, or how these organizations, groups, whatever, they look for people who are vulnerable, who are hurting, who may have gone through some sort of trauma recently, or maybe some big changes have just happened in their life, and they're kind of trying to make adjustments, and they move in at that point in these people's lives. With Jehovah's Witnesses, they do the same thing in their ministry work. They look for people who are vulnerable, who may have perhaps just moved to the area, or maybe having issues with their family, maybe isolated, maybe like I was in New Hampshire when they moved in on me. That's how these operates. Again, how can we resist this and not get hooked? What can we do to strengthen ourselves? Again, we have to realize love bombing for what it is, because that's the first stage of it usually. To try to hook you, they love bomb you, whether it's a person or a group or an organization. They act like you're the most wonderful thing that ever happened in this world in the beginning, so that you keep going back. So we have to combat that. We have to realize that when somebody's acting that way toward us, whether it's a group or an organization, we have to realize that that's not really what they're like. The more that they're doing that, the more of a warning signal it is to keep a distance from whoever this is, whatever organization. Don't keep going back. Run from them. Don't allow them back. If I had told that guy with the book in 1987 to move on, I would have never gotten involved in that religion if I had realized all of this back then. Of course, though, there's a reason for everything, and there's a reason I went through what I went through. Of course, there's a reason things are allowed to happen. But having true freedom, getting full control of our lives involves taking responsibility. Like that woman, you would hope she would take responsibility for herself and realize that what happened with the suicide situation was terrible, but why did she, again in the beginning, allow this person into her life? What happened? Why did she allow herself to be hooked by this guy even to begin with? It ties in with my previous videos where I brought out about not being sucked in, about having to look back to our childhood and releasing things that happened, because a lot of times maybe we were treated that way as a child, perhaps by a parent or some other person we knew abusively. It leaves an imprint on us that if we just vary, it's going to keep blooming up in front of us in our lives. We're going to keep recreating those situations with relationships until we delve into ourselves and realize where the source is, and go back and release whatever that is that happened that keeps making us replay these situations in our lives over and over again. And that's the example of that woman I was describing. Something must have happened in her past that with an important, in her childhood, an important figure in her life that now is causing her to replay these things in her relationships. And that's the thing, we have to take full responsibility for ourselves. This is the town of Clyde, Ohio, Clyde. So we have to take full responsibility of ourselves to be truly free or move in that direction. And nobody is 100% free in this world. Everybody has some sort of restrictions. I'm talking about in a relative sense. We're all restricted to some extent because we're in physical reality, and as long as we're in physical reality, we are limited in some respects. We have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to, do other things. But getting back to that, taking full responsibility involves that if we are not in an abusive relationship or abusive religion or whatever, we have to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, well, why did we get drawn in? What was the hooks that were used? How can we recognize them in the future so that we don't fall back into that again? What are some things in our childhood that happened that perhaps could be replayed in our lives now, different situations? How did our parents treat us as a child? What are some things we can do to release? What are some techniques, meditation, mental exercises? There are lots of things out there that can help us. YouTube, lots of different things, methods. Because certainly we don't want to stay stuck in these loops. We want to get out of them so that we can move forward as individuals and grow and enjoy a relative sense of freedom, at least. Not come under the control of other people. Not allow ourselves to be controlled by others. Because there are a lot of people out there that want to control other people. There are a lot of entities in this universe that are out to take over everything else. They want it. So we ourselves have to take responsibility and realize nobody can control us unless we allow them to somehow. And if we have allowed ourselves to come under that, even myself, I have allowed it in the past to be controlled. I was in abusive relationships. I was controlled by that religion for a good chunk of my life. But I take responsibility for myself. I realize that, I allowed myself to come under that somehow. I could have just said to that guy with the book, move on. For some reason I didn't. For some reason I allowed that religion into my life and kept it in my life for a long time. Allowed myself to be controlled. The key word is allowed. I could have very easily not allowed it. I could have left it a lot sooner than I did. In a relationship in general, should one person control the other in any way? No, definitely not. There should be no one person controlling the other in any way, shape, or form. There needs to be mutual respect for one another's preferences. yet, in contrast, a lot of people don't really want to take responsibility for themselves. It's much easier to blame a person, a religion, or whatever for our problems. But that woman I described, she could very easily say this person that she married is a horrible person, but you have to flip it to the other side and say, well, okay, well, then why did I allow him into my life then to begin with? You know, couldn't I see that he was love bombing me like he was? Couldn't I see through that? If not, then why didn't I see through that? Because in 4 months, that situation went from meeting him to being knocked up, gotten pregnant, married. 4 months, the whole thing played out. And thankfully, he didn't stay with her. But still, he still got her hooked. She's still mingling with him. Even though he's not in the committed relationship with her anymore, he's still mingling with her. She's still allowing him to mingle with her due to the child, due to the pregnancy. So the key is here, if we can nip it in the bud in the beginning when we see that we're getting love bombed. Of course, the natural tendency is to just, wow, bask in it. But we should do the opposite of what the natural tendency is and really take an objective look at what's going on and what's motivating that person or organization to be that way toward us. And most of the time it's to hook us, control us, get us under their power. So this is US Highway 20 West. I'm now passing by Fremont, Ohio. We'll be continuing on US 20 into Indiana. Once I get into Indiana, I'm going to hop on 94 when I come into it and take that to Chicago. That is my discussion on some examples of hooks that can be used to hook us into either an abusive relationship, religion, or come under somebody else's power or control. Tactics that are used to draw us and what things people take advantage of. In terms of times in our life when we're more vulnerable to these tactics, when we need to be especially vigilant, when we're going through changes in our life or we're going through problems of other sorts that leave us feeling more vulnerable than at other times. It's a 30-minute video. So this video covers US Highway 20 from Monroeville to Fremont, Ohio. I'll keep this going until I get through Fremont. This is exit 101. This does give access to the Ohio Turnpike. Plenty of food off this exit. This is Ohio 53 North, Portland, Lake Erie Island. There's a Walmart office exit as well. Exit 98, US 6 West, Bowling Green.